Good afternoon everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I thought I would do a full garden tour to show you what the garden is looking like in the month of November. We have just had a week of non-stop rain. I also haven't done anything to the garden lately. I've been super busy, so I haven't really been tending to the garden as much as I would like. So a lot of it is going to be a little bit of a surprise to me as well, but there is quite a bit of food in there that I want to start harvesting. And I'm also going to share with you some big changes that are happening to a few areas of the garden that I'm actually a little bit sad about, but I can't really do anything about it, so that's okay. Make sure to grab a cup of tea or coffee. I'm drinking a nettle tea today with a little bit of peppermint in it. It's very delicious, nice and calming and super good for you. So I'm going to bring this around the garden with me and share what I'm growing at the moment. So I have two main growing spaces here on this property. The first one that I'm going to show you here behind me, you can see part of it has netting up, which I'll get to. But here I like to grow using a lot of permaculture principles. I like to grow all organic and really work with nature to be able to grow my food. So that means I like to interplant a lot of the rows with lots of different varieties of fruits and vegetables to create biodiversity in the garden so that nature can work alongside me to produce food. I also love to make my own homemade compost and really strive to connect to nature in my everyday life. So if that is something that might interest you, definitely make sure to hit the subscribe button. I try and put out at least 1 to 2 videos every week, and I am forever thankful for all of you who have subscribed so far. Alright, we've got a lot of birds and cockatoos flying around, but this is just a little bit of an overview of this garden space. I think there's about 9 rows here that we grow in, and beside all of this wood that we still haven't cleared, I've got all of these blueberry plants here and some pineapple sage. I actually need to come through and pick a lot of these blueberries because they are all nice and ripe. You can see some of the plant is falling over. It's that packed with berries. But these ones are super delicious. And then I have some pineapple sage here, which has some great medicinal properties, but on the other spectrum, really nice in cocktails. So if you're looking for a summer cocktail edition, definitely some pineapple sage. And next to those, we have 2 compost tumblers, which is what I like to make compost in if I want to make a really fast batch of compost. I use these because they're quite easy to turn around. And then moving down to the garden, I'm going to go row by row and share with you just an update of what's happening. There's netting, pots, weeds, things all around the garden that I really need to come through and do a tidy up this weekend, but I wanted to get this filmed today. In this first bed here, we have some sunflowers that I planted from seed. These ones here are the Royal Velvet sunflowers, and then I have some Lemon Rush, I think these ones are called, so they're doing really nicely. And I have planted some basil seedlings next to those that are getting slightly eaten, but basil is one of my favorite things to grow in the garden because pesto pasta is one of my favorite dinners to make as well, so hence why we have a lot of basil throughout this garden. And then I've planted another rosella. There's also some calendula popping up here, there and everywhere because this is where I had my calendula plants. Not complaining because I am very much okay with calendula volunteering itself. And I've planted sweet potatoes all throughout here, and I can see some coming up here. I do need to train this though to run along the bed rather than in the pathways. And to protect the sweet potato just for the summer heat, I planted another rosella here. The whole rosella plant is edible, including all of the leaves, the flowers. I can start to see some little tiny flowers in here that are forming, and I love to make rosella jam from these plants. Then we have a nice selection of weeds at the end of the bed, and some of my Christmas plants that I'm just letting them get a little bit bigger before I take them up and pop them inside for decoration. The next row over, this is kind of a typical example of my planting style right here, is volunteer plants coming up. These are Calendula that I was really surprised I would get another harvest of these, because when it got super hot they all died back, but they come back from all of this nice beautiful rainy weather that we've been having. And then I've planted an okra in the middle, so making the most of all of this space, giving a little bit more space in the middle for this because it will grow up to be quite a big plant. And then a rocket self-seeded along the side with a few more calendula, random sunflower, and some Swiss chard or silver beet. And this patch has created its own little ecosystem and biodiversity of different layers, different beneficial plants, and that's exactly how I like to garden. The remainder of the row, I have some more leeks. I'm a little bit sad to see these go, but I have now learnt that homegrown leeks are just super delicious, and I'm going to be growing these from now on. This looks like a mess, but there's method to the madness here. I just basically do a chop and drop. So that just means I just chop a lot of the parts of vegetables and the plants that I don't need anymore. And rather than putting them into the compost, I just put them around wherever needs mulch. And I've planted a little rosella in there, so it's nice and protected with all of that mulch. And then towards the end, I just have a few chilies. I've got some black olive chilies that the foliage of this is really pretty, next to some lettuce and some jalapenos that I can see are starting to fruit, along with some more basil and a dahlia, which is looking a little sad from all of the rain, but still all those bugs are loving it. This is my little problematic bed that I've been having with king parrots doing their damage again. Firstly it was the sunflowers with the cockatoos and king parrots, and now it's the tomatoes. But other than that, we've got some zinnias here, and underneath the netting is all of the Roma tomatoes. There's only a few left on these plants because the king parrots just came in and chomped them all off. You can see a remnant one down there. Even green tomatoes, they will just have a peck at, and sometimes I think they're just playing and not even eating, so that's fun for me. More silver beet that I have actually been loving juicing lately, because it's getting quite tough because I've just cut it back so many times. I find juicing is my favorite way to use this. And then another rosella. Here I've got some dwarf sunflowers. These are the lemon rush sunflowers again, and I think I am going to be able to enjoy some of these rather than the parrots pecking them off, hopefully, fingers crossed. And I've also got, a sad looking straw flower that really needs to be staked up. Look how gorgeous the colour is on that flower. I'm going to be drying these. I'll try and pick them fairly soon, but they will need to be dried out for quite a while. So I'm hoping they dry out okay with all of this rain. Got some more capsicums that really need to be topped off. Some onions, more silver beet, and more capsicums. Some of which are looking almost ready to pick. I do like to pick them green, just because then I get them before the birds do. In the next row I have some borage flowering, some really sad looking cosmos that I need to probably replant soon, and a Cape gooseberry that is yet to flower or fruit, but it's growing really nicely. And then my beautiful cucumber trellis that has so many gorgeous cucumbers on it that we've been picking literally every day, coming down here and picking these gorgeous cucumbers. Alongside those I have some green beans planted. These are the Blue Lake green beans, and I can start to see a few coming through, which is nice. If you do have any favourite cucumber recipes, definitely let me know. I'm thinking of making some cucumber and dill salad, maybe pickling some of them, but we have so many and so many upstairs in the fridge, so I'm looking at ways to get through all of these cucumbers. And then down from that trellis, it wouldn't be a garden row here without a rosella bush. Very happy after the rain. And I planted some more zinnias, which are looking really stunning right now. I'll run through the rest fairly quickly, but I have some green beans, some bush beans at the start of this bed. The corn has obviously just taken off. Loving this warmer weather and all of the water. Corn is a really thirsty crop, so if you are thinking of planting it soon in the subtropics, now is definitely a great time to plant it with all of this rain that we're having. Then I have a row of dahlias here, some more okra, paper daisy or straw flowers, and then lots of bush beans down the end that are kind of all covered in the jacaranda flowers, but I can see quite a few that are starting. These are a red and white speckled bean that are really good for drying, so I'm going to try and dry quite a few of these because we do eat a lot of beans in our household. The next bed is a little empty, but I do have some asters planted here, a weedy onion patch, some turmeric and some more asters down here, and some more okra that I planted along here. Okra is also a really great crop to get in the ground now. Particularly if you're growing it from seed, you can direct sow okra, and it really enjoys the warmer, humid temperatures. So I definitely recommend. And then my flower garden down here, you can see obviously it has some gorgeous colour in it. Some of my favourites in here are a lot of the lighter white zinnias. This one's looking a little sad, and they do seem to have a lot of bugs in them. This is the one thing I am really struggling with all of this warmer weather, but that one in there looks quite beautiful. And obviously this corn is doing fantastic. It's not great to have it really wet when corn is trying to be pollinated, because it pollinates via wind, so all of the pollen drops down from all of these spikes here, and it needs to fall all the way down to all of these tassels, and every single individual one of these forms one little kernel. So all of these need to be pollinated to get a full cob of corn. And if it's raining, it can be a little bit difficult for the pollen to fall from top to bottom. But I do like to come out here and just give it a little bit of a shake every now and again when it's not raining. It's a little hard to see, but you can kind of see not those larger bits, but there's really fine pollen that will drop down and hopefully fall on there. You can also just take one of these like that, and then come down and just give it a really nice brush through. And this also helps to pollinate the corn cob. Best to do it early morning if it's dry, rather than when it's sopping wet like it is now, but the rain just hasn't stopped here. And then I've got a few little dill towers here that are looking really beautiful actually. Got going to be picking these soon. A lot of the dill to use in some salads with all of those gorgeous cucumbers. And then just a mirage of different flowers in the back here. Lots of zinnias that I need to come and deadhead actually. So that's kind of an overview of what this garden is looking like. And I'll take you over to the other one. Right, so now we come to a little bit of a sadder part of this video. So I'm going to move the camera in a little bit. You can probably tell behind me, the elephant in the garden, quite literally the size and colour of an elephant, is that the garden that I first started here is actually going to be replaced with a water tank. Definitely quite sad to see a lot of this garden go, but I am staying positive because a little bit of a backstory is we just don't own this piece of land. We live with family and it's not really up to us to make decisions about what happens on this land. It's not for us to make those decisions, but I did have this space to garden in while I was here, and I put in a lot of love and effort into creating a really beautiful and productive permaculture style garden. And it's not all going to waste because I am going to be taking some plants out and transplanting them and probably keeping maybe one of the back or front rows here. But it is kind of a spot for where the owners of this house were wanting a water tank for a while. I wish I knew that a little sooner. But that's okay because I have just used this space to the best of my ability, and that's what I always try to do when I garden. I have lived in so many different rental properties, and I know for a fact that the people who take over those properties aren't gardeners and aren't interested in gardening, and I don't think that's ever a reason for not having a garden and not growing exactly what you want to grow. Because for me, a lot of this was all about learning how to grow different plants, and also just sharing with you how to grow different plants and be able to use all of nature's principles in the garden. But nonetheless, it is quite sad, but I also still have that massive garden behind me over there. So it's not like I don't have a garden space. I'll be okay. Because of that, you'll see some of this garden is a little unkept, a little bit weedy right now, but I'll just give you an overview of everything that's in there right now. First of which is I had every intention of coming through and harvesting all of these calendula seeds, but I think they're a little bit too far gone now. It's not great to have your seeds moist, particularly for longer periods of time, so I don't think these are going to be any good. They just are so much more susceptible to getting moldy, and also some of them actually start to germinate, which is not what you want when you're trying to store the seeds. Something that is really promising is all of these beautiful scarlet runner flowers. This means that hopefully I'm going to get a really good crop of beans here very shortly. These are such a fun bean to grow because they just provide a little bit more colour and beauty in the garden, as well as the green beans are a little bit larger than some of the other beans, and I just really enjoy having different things in the garden. Next to those, I've got some more calendula and some leeks that I'm gradually pulling out, and then my comfrey. Wow. This is the first time I've ever grown comfrey, and it's a little difficult to see right now, but I can actually see one of the blue banded bees, which I see almost every time around this comfrey. If you're after more pollinators in the garden, definitely make sure to plant some comfrey. I planted this as a tiny seedling, like this big, and this is how much it's grown, maybe in about 2-3 months or so. I'm going to do a video very soon of propagating comfrey, and I'm going to make some comfrey tea with a lot of the leaves, maybe even actually some comfrey salve, mix it with my calendula oil that I make, just for all of the medicinal properties that are in this beautiful plant. But next to that one we have some kale, which is, I can see, getting very eaten. I need to come through and do a massive harvest of this, so maybe I'll do a little morning garden harvest for the next few days, just harvesting a lot of what is in here. But next to this, so what happened here was I threw some seeds. I just threw them. I think it was an old jalapeno, and I just threw it on the ground. And now, and then it germinated, all of those different plants. And now I'm getting some more fruit. So this was a happy accident. I have some tomatoes here that are kind of struggling with all of this rain in terms of pollinating. I'm just finding I'm not really having a great pollination rate right now, but I don't know if I'll even be able to get some with the time that I have left with this garden. Some more tomatoes here that I'll walk you through. These are all Tigerella tomatoes. Another capsicum, a very sad looking lettuce plant that absolutely needs to come out, and some more cayenne chilies. Just ignore this one here because that is absolutely horrendous. So much mildew on that absolutely needs to come out. This is the messy part if you can't really tell, but the straw flower, paper daisy, doesn't want to stop, so I'm actually not going to let it stop and just keep letting that grow, be beautiful. In this row I don't really have very much except a sad looking zinnia, some turmeric that I'm hoping I'm going to be able to transplant it, some random volunteer tomatoes, and some flowers, capsicums up the back. This flower bed may stay, I'm not too sure yet. It's got some gorgeous salvias which are starting to bloom. I need to come through and harvest and dry a lot of this oregano. That's just such a gorgeous ground cover for this area. Some more flowers here. This is the Lagos spinach, which I just let it be, and it's re-sprouted. This is an edible spinach that is really great for dry regions, particularly around in the subtropics. And all of these, you can kind of see there's little black seeds in there. A lot of those seeds had dropped, and now I have all of these free plants down here, which I might propagate and take to the other garden. And some more papayas and some beans down the end that are very sad, but I am just going to chop them all and they can just be worked into the soil. I've been loving this sage. I think sage flowers are just so beautiful and delicate. These are probably two of my favorite colors. I just love that color. It's so pretty. And then my pigeon peas are all coming back and starting to have a second run of pods. So I might be able to harvest some of these before the king parrots get them, but if not, the king parrots are more than welcome to them. So that is pretty much a full garden tour of everything that we're growing at the moment. Let me know what's growing well in your garden at the moment and also what you're struggling with. Thank you so much for watching this video. Definitely make sure to give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed, and there's always links in the description box if you would like to support this channel even further than just watching this video and leaving a comment and liking and all of those things. I'm going to go and enjoy my cup of tea in the garden. I hope you're all having a lovely day wherever you are in the world, and until my next video, happy gardening everyone. Bye!